Our author interview. Come on in. It's on me, just so you know. We're not looking at you. So we'll wait for him to come on in. Tweet it out. It looks like it worked this time. So hi, Bodie Fish. And Rayanne is Rachel. Ray, welcome. Stephanie, good, you got to come in. Okay, so now's the time. Help me share it out to our friends so we can fill up the room with Meryl Mom and Reagan, mother of 5. Yay, you made it. I'm so excited about this interview. I can't wait for you guys to meet Carrie, not only because of her as a writer, but because she's one of our Author for the Author group. So I'm real excited. Oh, and Carrie, you joined? Okay, she's in the interview. Did you join? How did you do that? Audra's in there?
I checked to see if I could hear it or not, and I can't, so I have to turn it off.
Okay. So she's checking to see how she could Periscope and interview at the same time. Thanks for sharing, guys. Awesome. That's what we want to do. We want to see if we can find our people in here and get the word out. So, but it's too confusing. I've tried it before to actually let the person on Skype be the person with the Periscope in their hand too. Crazy. It's already multitask enough. So she won't be commenting on there. I'm sure it's pretty challenging. So are you guys ready for this? And you see there's a conspiracy happening. We're ganging up on you. Yay! Yes, your name wasn't drawn. Oh, I know. We wanted it to be. We had a 1 in 10 chance, and then that means what's next for you, Audra? Since you braved up for that, what's next for you? So, okay, are we about ready? We got a handful of people in here. Does anybody else want to share it out and make sure we get it? I will give you you have the chocolate hearts. We'll take chocolate hearts. I'm excited. Yes. So these author interviews are trophies to me because not only normally you get an author interview, you get to hear their story, you get to hear how it is, but that's usually driven for the reader. It's for the reader to find out all the interesting details behind the book. It's more rare to find ones that are for us who are on a creative journey of some sort ourselves, to be spurred on, to be encouraged, to be pushed towards the dream and reminded that it's worth it and that everybody's journey is going to look a little different. So are you guys ready to meet Carrie Turansky, one of our very own Author for the Author people? Give me some hearts. That's like the round of applause, like bring her on, bring her on. Oh yes, there we go. We got the rainbow going. Yay! Okay, here you come. It's on to you, Carrie. She's going to say hi. There she is.
Hey, friends. I'm happy to be with you today. Excited to share a little bit about my story and just encourage you.
Yay!
So,
go ahead.
We see hearts coming. Yay! That's fun. I'm excited to be here. Thank you. We're going to be doing a giveaway today for my book. This is my latest one, English Historical, called A Refuge at Highland Hall, and it's set during World War I in England, so 1915.
Lift the book up a little bit. I can only see the top of it. There we go. Refuge at Highland Hall. That's our giveaway, the Instagram style. So, but I'm going to have her tell you about it a little bit. Go ahead and talk about the book so they can know what they're going to win if they win it.
Yes, it's a historical set in England, and it's a romance. But it's a lot about history, too. So we get to hear about a young woman who first she's living in London, and then she is living with her sister, and they're taking care of some orphans. And when the bombings start in London, they decide to take all the orphans back to her home in the country at Highland Hall outside of London. So kind of follows her journey, and she also meets a very handsome, of course, British pilot who is the hero of the story. And I used some real-life incidents from reading a biography about a British pilot who was actually the first one to knock down a Zeppelin, which is a German airship that was doing the bombing. So he was the first one to knock down an airship. And so I used a lot of those real incidents. And when you read the story, a lot of people say, oh, wow, it's just too fantastic. It couldn't have happened that way. But it really did. So there's a lot of real-life adventure in there, as well as romance and inspiration. So it's a fun book to research and write.
Okay, I'm turning it. Fun to see her out there. Okay, so this is where I get to tell you about our normal giveaway. So I have an Instagram account, Kara Grandel. She went there. Yes, she's going to talk about that in a little bit. Hi, Joe. I saw you sneak in too, Vonnie. Hello, and how are you guys? Super fun to have all of our familiar faces in here. And okay, so the giveaway, I have an Instagram account under my name, Kara Grandel. I have a picture, a graphic up of her, of this interview. So if you go on to that and underneath of it, you make a comment, and in the comment, you share it with 2 of your friends. That means you make the little @ sign and you share it with 2 of your friends that are inside Instagram. So you do have to go to Instagram after the interview and do this. But each time you share it with 2 of your friends, your name gets put in the pot to draw out for a prize to win the copy of the book that she was just talking about. So we can see what she's talking about with the history behind the Zeppelin. So that the giveaway will be live for 24 hours. Now I hit save on here. So my thing before was by the time this went down, then the interview was up, but we'll still do 24 hours. So tomorrow afternoon, I'll come on here sometime and do the giveaway, and we'll see if Audra, if you can win that one, right? And so we'll do that. And we do want to thank Carrie for taking on the critique and being able to be generous with her time and her energies to do that for us. But my favorite part of interviewing Carrie behind the scenes was how much of a servant she was for the people around her as writers, meaning she's super gracious. A lot of her decisions are on helping people like us who are up and coming, learning the craft, learning the market, and befriending us along the journey. And she has a reason for that, and she's going to tell her story now, and I'm not going to interrupt her. I'm going to let her just start at the beginning and have you tell her what her family dynamic is, what kind of busy she deals with, just like we do, facing this whole thing, and we're gonna let her get going. But I want you to listen to how many people come alongside of her in the midst of her journey and helped her through like she's helping us now. And are you guys ready? Here we go. And don't forget, you can do questions. Questions for her. If you interject questions, I will be keeping track and filtering them to her. So don't forget, this is an interactive interview. You get to have a little say in the interview. So be prepared to ask your questions. And here she is, without further ado, our Carrie friend. Here she is. There you go, Carrie.
Hey friends, I'm really excited to tell you a little bit about my journey because I think it'll be an encouragement to you. I was always a reader. From the time I was a little girl, I used to go check out huge stacks of picture books at the library. And I actually did write a book when I was 12 one summer, just sort of as a fun adventure. My mom actually typed it up, and that was just sort of a fun thing that I did. But I didn't really focus on writing then. I kind of switched to art. That's sort of the thing to do in my family. My mom was an artist and my grandpa was an artist, so I kind of took up art and went that way for a while. But then later on, as our family grew and we spent a year in Kenya, the power would go out a lot. There would be a lot of time to just use your imagination or to read. And so I had a great experience there. And when I came back from Kenya, I missed Kenya a lot and what our experiences there. So I thought, well, maybe I'll write a book set in Kenya. So that's how I started out writing. I just let the story pour out, and it was a really long story and a lot of adventure and romance kind of all mixed together with missionaries things, and I just had a lot of fun writing it. But I really didn't know a lot about the craft of writing and what the special techniques that you need to use when you're writing fiction. It's different than writing a report or writing a project like you would in college or something like that, or an article or devotional. It's a different type of writing. But I didn't really know that. All I knew was that I had a great imagination and I love to tell a story. So that's what I did with those first books. And then I went to my first writers conference. And at this conference, everyone turns in a chapter. That's part of your admission. You turn in a chapter and you meet with an editor. So I turned in my chapter and I was really excited because I thought, well, this is my big, opportunity. And they matched me up with the very top high-level editor. I don't know why, but they did. And so I remember I sat down for the time with her. The 15 minutes was supposed to be, and you sit across the table, and she pulled out my chapter, which she'd had ahead of time, and she had drawn a red line down the side of every page. And she looked at me and she said, you really just need to go learn how to write. And I'm sort of a shy, introverted person, and so when I saw that, I was just really shocked at first, and I didn't really know what to say, and I had to get through the rest of that 15 minutes So I don't know what we said, but I think I cut it a little short and excused myself and went to my room and did a little crying because it was just very discouraging. And so I went home that weekend and I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I should quit because, if that's what they're going to think of my work, then maybe I should just give up. But I prayed about it, and then my neighbor across the street had a job of recycling books from Christian schools, buying used books, that kind of thing, and he was throwing out a lot of books. And we were homeschooling. We have 5 kids. We were homeschooling at the time, so free books is always a good thing. So I went over and asked him if I could look through his trash, his books he was throwing away. He said, "Oh, sure, take whatever you want." And I saw some books there that were creative writing books in English language, that kind of thing. I thought, well, maybe this was God's way of just encouraging me that I could learn to write if I would really apply myself and just do what it takes to learn the skills that I needed. I could match up my great imagination with the fiction craft writing skills that I needed. So I did that. I also sent an email to an author that I really admired. You might have read her books. Her name's Elizabeth White. And she wrote me back a really nice email, and she told me about a new group that was forming online called American Christian Romance Writers. They've since changed their name to American Christian Fiction Writers, and this was in 2000. And so I joined that group. There were less than 100 of us then, and a couple years into that, or a year and a half or so, we started meeting annually for a conference. And that's now a huge conference, the ACFW conference that's every year, usually September. This year it's in August. And I've been blessed to be able to go to that conference each year and made some really great friendships there with other authors. And we have ACFW has an online email loop where I connected with a lot of authors. And early on, I got involved in a critique group. And this group, it was 5 women who all were aspiring authors. None of us were published, but we all were eager to move toward publication. So we would send chapters to each other every week or so. And we learned a lot that way, helping and encouraging each other. So I really recommend critique groups to you as a way to really polish your writing and build some friendships that are supportive and helpful. So now today, all of us are published, multi-published, and one has gone on to be an agent also. So it's a great group of friends that I still love to connect with and see and stay connected to online. And then I kept writing after the red line, and so I kept going, and I actually wrote 5 books, complete books, before my first one was accepted for publication. I did meet my agent before I was published, and she took me on and submitted my work. And finally, in 2005, my first novella was published. And the way I was able to do that was through ACFW, I met another author who was a few steps ahead of me, had already been published by Barbara in novellas, and she decided, out of the goodness of her heart, just to take me on and mentor me and help me to be published. And you had to be already published with Barbara to submit novella proposals. So she brought me in as a new author with her proposal with 3 other published authors, and that was my first novella in 2005. And then shortly after that, I had my first full-length novel published by Love Inspired, and I did 4 of those, several more novellas, and then I also did an indie book of one that got turned down by Love Inspired, but I really loved the story. The editor said it was too episodic. I didn't even know what that meant. I had to look it up. But I think that maybe, I don't know what. Anyway, I published it as an indie author, and it's sold terrific and won an International Digital Award as the best book of the year. So I think it was still a good book, and I'm glad I was able to put it out myself. And then after that, I really had a desire to write longer historical novels. And so I was at a library conference with an author friend who was there with Tyndale. I was just there as a guest, but I saw this editor that I had met at ACFW one time. And so I went up and I talked to her. I had to be very brave. And I said, oh, well, after we chatted for a couple minutes, I said, well, what kind of books are you looking for? And at the time, Downton Abbey was just becoming popular. And so she said, oh, I would like to see, an English historical. It's, same time period as Downton Abbey. Maybe you could have a governess as a heroine, kind of like Jane Eyre, with a brooding heroine. And so I said, oh, that's a good idea. But I didn't know if I could write a book set in England 100 years ago, because it's hard enough just to write one in America that's historical, because you have to check all your facts and do all your research. But you need to take it to another country. I wasn't sure I could do that, but I liked her story idea. And it just so happened that my author friend that was with me that day, Kathy Golke, she had just released a novel with Tyndale that started in England in 1912. It's a wonderful story called Promise Me This, it starts out with a young boy stowing away on the Titanic. And so she had a lot of research books that are set in England from early 1900s. And she said, I'll give you all these research books. And she just kept saying, you could do it. This would be great. This is just like the story you should write. So because of her encouragement, I went home and I started researching that time period. And I just really fell in love with Edward in England. And I watched more of Downton Abbey, and I watched another one called Manor House series, which was like where they actually had people take on the roles of life, and modern people take it on, and try to live as Edwardians did. And that was really fun. And so that gave me some good insight. And then I just did a lot of reading and kind of absorbing everything I could about that time period. And then I got a new agent at that time who had a little bit more push, I think. And he helped me with my proposal, and we sent it out and had some really great response. And I was able to get a contract for a 3-book historical with Waterbrook. And so that's who I'm writing with now. And there's the first one was the one that lady suggested, The Governess of Highland Hall. That's based on her idea. And then just the story just kept going. And the second one in the series is The Daughter of Highland Hall. So the governess had these 2 teenage girls that she is overseeing. And so the second or third story are the 2 girls, their stories. So each book stands alone, but the family and the setting continues on through the series. So that's kind of how I got where I am today. I'm just really grateful for all the people that have helped me. And as Kara said, I always take time to do critiques at the ACFW conference to try to help aspiring authors and give them a shot of encouragement. I always will look for things that there's got to be something positive about everybody's work. Something that you could say that would be encouraging and helpful, and then some, if you're going to critique, it's got to have, encouraging how you improve, not just saying it stinks. So I'm looking forward, Cheryl, I guess, is the one who won the critique from me, so I'm looking forward to reading something that she's written and hopefully giving her some encouragement.
Yay. Okay, so we have a few questions, and Cheryl is actually in here. I saw her slip in, so that will be fun for her to have seen you. Yeah, that's her right there. Congratulations, Cheryl. How exciting. I'm excited for you. Did you guys hear how many different people she had in? I'm actually going to turn it to me for just a second. But I wanted to point out that she actually talked about reaching out behind the scenes to an author that she liked. And remember, she says she's an introvert and she's shy, and that's intimidating. So she did that. She actually jumped out there and actually said hello to somebody, and they gave her the reference to the beginning of the ACFW. Did you guys catch that? The ACFW has been going for like 16 years now, and she was the one of the groups that was in there at the beginning. So that's a lot of experience and a lot of wealth, which is super fun. But she also got that through a connection, and then out of those connections, that's when she got her 5 critique partners, all who went from non-published to published, multi-published, and one's an agent. So I know I'm reiterating the thing, but really what I want to point to is that we need each other. You guys need each other. The letting your guard down inside author for the author, just enough to let people know your genre, to know where your experience level is, to connect up. I think there's some good critique groups that could potentially form out of this group. And I saw it starting. I watched my replay with Joe and Stephanie, and they're going to do some beta reading back and forth. And it all starts with these little kind of things. And we don't have to be a polished, experienced person to begin those relationships. We will continue to grow and continue to pick up our skills as we go, but it's okay if you're not the perfect editor. If you can just read it and, like she said, find out the strengths, give them a good feedback, and then say, hey, this is something I noticed as a reader. This is something I noticed. That's where we begin. When I turn it back around, I'm going to feed her the questions. Yeah, if only we could be perfect from the beginning. Other skills building tips in addition to critique. Well, right. I will ask her that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you several questions. I'm going to feed you because they gave you lots of questions. So we're going to start with you again. They want to know, first of all, one of them, Julie just asked if you would recommend, besides a critique group, a learning environment, stuff to learn your craft, sources to learn your craft outside of a critique group. Do you have any recommendations?
All right. I have a page on my website, and my website is just like my name. There we go.
Oh, well, hold on.
It's just like that.
I got to pull my camera back. Pull yours back just a little bit, Carrie. There you go.
Okay, thanks.
So take a picture if you guys want to. That's how we're going to connect with her later, too. There you go. Awesome. I see cameras going off. Okay. Oh, hold it up. There you go. There it is. There you go. And that's going to come into play later when we start to scratch her back and tell her thank you, too. So
I have a page on my website that is just for writers, and it gives you some different steps that can help you toward publication and some links so that you can see some different blogs by agents and editors and writing groups so that you can keep up with what's going on. So that's a great way to learn. Also, reading in the genre that you're interested in writing in is good. CBDChristianbooks.com has a fiction catalog that they'll send out free. You can see what's coming out new. And it tells you, each little blurb at the end tells you which publisher is publishing that book. It's a great resource. I always encourage people to do that. Looking for a local writers group, a critique group, I think is helpful. But, if you can't do that, there's certainly the ones that are online are a really great option, because then you're doing it on your own time, exchanging, so you can fit it in with whatever kind of schedule you have. So that would probably be what I would suggest.
Yeah, awesome. So we did, one person wanted to know if the inspiration that you had by going to, turning your setting to England, if that setting, the time period to England, is still fueling your fire. And I thought this would be a great chance for you to talk about your travel in there. So. Okay.
Yeah, I still am excited to write about that time period. I did travel to England twice for research, so that was just a super blessing to be able to do that. Once with my husband, and he, bless his heart, he drove 400 miles on the wrong side of the road and the wrong side of the car, and we didn't have one accident. And we had a lot of fun visiting historic homes and gardens. And then I went with an author friend, Kathy Goki, and I went with Liz Curtis Higgs to Scotland on a tour, and then we also had a few days on our own where we toured an area where Kathy is writing her next book. She writes books set in England also, and so we visited the Lake District where she's saying her next story that she's writing now, and then we visited Tintisfield, which is actually the house that you see on the cover here. It's a historic home that's owned by the National Trust, which is like their historical society there. You can tour it. So that's fun. That really fuels my imagination. So I do have two more books that I contracted to set in England. I finished the first one and turned it in April. And it has a little bit of a mystery as well as being a historical romance. And that's called Shine Like the Dawn, and it comes out in February. And then I'm just trying to research the next one. I have to come up with my new idea. And I actually went with my grandkids last week to the Air and Space Museum. And they split off with their parents, and my husband and I went to more of the historical part. And I saw this really interesting idea about early aviation, where they had actual air races, and they called them air meets, when planes were just starting to be something very unique, and thousands of people would come to look at the airplanes at these air meets. So I thought, ooh, that's a good idea. So I've been researching that the last few days to see if my hero will be a pilot again in this story and be one of those early aviators who is looking for a place to hold an air meet or an air race, something like that. So, and also I've been looking into orphanages and children's homes, kind of like that idea too. So a lot of the research I do, and out of the research, the stories come.
Yes, ideas everywhere. I actually Joe says, I didn't quite catch his question because he wanted to hear about the passion, but I saw it on your face when you start talking about it, and it lights you up, and your research even. So one of the other questions was, how long does it take you to do the research for one of your novels?
Well, it kind of depends. What I'm doing now, when I do a series, I spend maybe 2 or 3 months at the beginning just laying it all out and getting all the ideas for the different books. But the 2 books I'm writing right now are supposed to be individual titles. My editor team seems to think that they want to move me from series to doing individual titles, which I'm not that thrilled about. But I'm trying to be happy about it, try it and see. So it's so much easier when you have a series, because then you do all your research at the beginning, and then you can look up things as you go. But when you're starting over with a whole new idea, a whole new area, a whole new family, it takes longer. So it takes me 2 or 3 months usually to do a research for a book, and so to stay on schedule, it's kind of a challenge to get that all in there and write the book on time and that kind of thing. I usually write 1 book a year. I know some authors write faster and write more, but because of the research and just because I have my husband's a pastor, and we have church and we have family. I have 5 kids and I have a lot of grandkids, so I want to balance out, which is something Kara's always stressing to us, to have a balanced life, to enjoy our family time and our ministry as well as our writing. And so I just write 1 book a year, and they would like me to write more, but I just say, that's what I can do, and they're okay with that. They accept that.
So while you said that about your editor's preference for standalones, single books, they asked how much of a sway you have over that. Could you ask to do the series? I mean, would they kind of want to know how much room does the author have to working with their agent or their editor to have their own way, almost, I guess would be the best way.
I proposed a series, a 3-book series, just because that was like you shoot high, shoot really high, and ask for what you would like, and then they evaluate what they think about. They're evaluating all the research of your past sales and what the trends are. They put a lot of time and money and interest into promoting your books, and they want to sell the most they can. So, they came back with an offer that said, let's do 2 and let's do standalones this time. So I wanted to keep writing for them. I really like Waterbrook, and I like working with them. They've just done a lot of great things for me, and so I was willing to do that. So that's how it kind of worked out.
Yay. Okay, good to hear. So Brandy asked if you have a favorite place that you write or work. Do you have...
Okay, I have a little corner in the dining room with my desk set up there. I sit there sometimes, but I have a laptop that I usually use, so I go all around the house, and I sit in the kitchen, or I sit in the living room, or if it's really nice, I sit out in back. We have a big patio with a big tent, so I sit out there and enjoy being outside. So those are my favorite places to write.
Yay. Okay, so one of the other pieces to your story, because you've had you've had a couple different agents, and you've had a couple different publishing houses, right? Do I remembering right?
I've had 3 different publishing houses.
Yes. And then, so how is it for you? I think you were one who talked about the differences behind the scenes and how each of them are different. Would you talk about that for a second?
Well, I think there's different levels as far as how much editing you would get. Let's see. The Barber novellas, they have freelance editors who work with you, and it kind of just depends on who you get. All of mine have been very helpful, but it's kind of a light editing there. At Love Inspired, I wrote for the contemporary line there. They have a very set type of book that they are looking for. So you do a lot of work with them at the beginning with your proposal. In that stage, they want a very detailed proposal, and they want you sometimes to, I didn't run into it too much, but I've heard from other authors that they would have them revise the proposal quite a bit, and they would have a very short amount of time to write the book, which could be really frustrating. But they're turning out so many books each month. They're very busy, and you have some kind of heavy editing with them. So I like working for them, and that was a really good experience, really a growing experience for me. And you sell a ton of books because they have direct mail people that buy them, and then they're mass market books that are lower priced out in stores like Walmart and, you know, some grocery stores and Target and everywhere. So you sell a lot of books and you meet a lot of readers, you know, everyday kind of readers. And a lot of them are not churched people. They just want a clean story. And I would have just really heartwarming emails from people that were really touched by the inspirational elements in the story. So I'm very thankful that I had that opportunity to write for them. And that was just a good experience. And then with Waterbrook, they're investing a little bit more, I think, in each individual title. So you actually meet with the marketing and publicity people who have a, marketing plan for you. And, you still have to do quite a bit yourself. They really encourage that and want you to. But they're really promoting your books into, libraries and all different types of ways they're promoting your book and making your book available through different avenues and that kind of thing. So, and they have several levels of editing there. It's like a lot of editing. You have to have a thick skin and be willing to, work with at least 3 or 4 different editors. You have an acquiring editor who gives you a big overview. After they read the story, they want you to say, well, your hero is not strong enough, or, the ending needs to change, big things like that. And then the next editor is working with you more on your writing and, honing your writing down and making your writing flow really well. And she's telling you, oh, there's something missing here, or you need to explain this or whatever. And then you have a copy editor who's checking your facts and telling you, no, there were no copper pipes in 1912, things like that. You wouldn't even think you're supposed to check. So they check all these facts, and they really get into all the details and, be sure that everybody's eyes stay blue all the way through, that kind of thing. So that's kind of fun. And then there's like a final editor who's pulling it all together and overseeing the proofreading, and you read it again. So there's lots of levels that you're going through. And so I think that's reflected in hopefully the very best kind of a book that you could put out. So I'm thankful to have experienced all those different levels and kind of learn from each one of them.
Yeah, well, one of the phrases that you said when we interviewed beforehand, it was actually when you were sitting across the table from your now agent, and you said you had to be brave. You said, I had to have courage. That was the phrase. You said it when we interviewed 3 different times. You said, I had to have courage to step out and try something new. And I'm not sure if you have anything to say about the courage that it takes to switch between agents, editors, to keep writing, to deal with some of the hard side of it. But I do think that there's something that you have in you just because of the time you have invested that I need to hear you talk about that, the courage factor. And in the midst of that, we had one of our guests in here. They talked about how much we appreciate your input on Author for the Author, your posts that you're dropping in there, because there's a wealth of wisdom in them. They're not just the fluffy encouragements. There's content and there's encouragement. And they do help you be courage, the more you know. So did you want to talk about, how you, obviously you had to brave up after the red letter edition of your editing and then try again and then meeting the new people. But the courage factor, can you talk about how your brain works, how your heart works behind the scenes when you're facing yourself?
Okay, it does take courage. And I can remember what I was like about 16 or 17 years ago. Like I said, I was pretty shy and introverted, and just took a lot of courage. I remember the first critique group, before I even did the one online with ACFW, I went to my library. They were having a writer's group, and that was the first time I ever, read my work aloud and let people critique it or anything, and that took a lot of courage. But each time I would step out and have courage and try something new, I would learn something, and I would just grow stronger as a person. And each time I go to a conference, I would just learn more things and meet more people. And I was able to kind of shift my focus from thinking about myself and how scared I felt to looking for other people who, needed encouragement, or, anybody you ask at a conference, well, what do you like to write? You're into a conversation and you've made a friend, and it's just a wonderful community. And when you have courage and you reach out to people and you think about how to be a blessing to them, it just helps you get over that hump of yourself, and the Lord can use you to bless other people, and you're blessed in return. So it does take courage, but it's so worth it. I mean, you learn so much, and sometimes you get knocked down or you get discouraged. I remember I went to several appointments. Whenever you go to writers' conference, you go to an appointment. It's 15 minutes, and you're supposed to talk to an editor, and it's just so scary when you're first waiting for those. I remember I went to one, and I don't know if I had something written I had shown her or whatever, but I had made a mistake in the length of my book. And I think it was like 110,000 words in this book, and I think I said it was 10,000. And so after I talked to her about the story, she just said, we don't take books that are 10,000 words. And I'm like, what? So I was like so flustered, I didn't know how to recover. But I mean, you make mistakes, you say goofy things, you embarrass yourself, but then you get up and you get going, and you learn from it, and try not to be hard on yourself when you make a mistake. It happens. But remember, the editors and people that you meet at a conference, they're just like you. They're just people that are like you. They happen to be in a different position or whatever. So just be brave, and that will help.
Yay. Those are such good words. Okay, so the camera's still on you, but I want to talk about the giveaway again, but not just the giveaway. I want you to hold up, side by side, hold up your website and your book, so they can take pictures of them together. So we do these interviews with the idea. Okay, pull back from the camera just a little bit. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so take your pictures, guys, because this is how we get to help her back. One of my favorite things to do with this author interview platform is to actually promote them and to help them. So check out her book at the library, or better yet, go win it on Instagram by sharing it out. And when you share it out to your friends, pick somebody who might like to be a reader and doesn't even know it yet. Don't just do friends and family, but get the word out there for her. So that someone can discover her, because the retreat of the book sometimes can be really good medicine to people's lives. So we want to get her book out there, and then go ahead and hold up your website again, because I want to talk about her. The other way, so getting the reviews, obviously we preach reviews on the Author for the Author. If you check it out at the library and you get it for free, so be it. Write a review and then tell your friend about it. That's how we do. But Carrie has a readers group. She actually has a launch team. You guys have heard me talk about it before. She has a private closed group. So our group on Author for the Author is a closed group. Hers is a private closed group. So you won't even hear about it or see it unless she invites you into it. So if you're interested in being a part of her launch teams and knowing when her next books come out, go find her. Carrie Turansky is her name on Facebook. Friend her on her author page, and then get behind the scenes and communicate with her so that you can say, hey, I'm interested. Will you let me in? And of course, that usually comes with a free book when they come up, but then they also want you to do the reviews and stuff like that. So that's a way that we can help her. Her CarrieTuransky.com, the one that she's holding up right now, is also the site that she's using, that she told us that had the writer's resources on it, where you can go and you can connect and find some more helps and education as an author. And she really has been feeding us a great wealth. I don't know if you guys read the article she posted that had the current time stuff, like what's happening in the market, in the industry, but that was super rich with information. So, and that's inside of our Author for the Author group. So I think we're done. Do you guys have any other questions for her? And would you like to feel free to write a comment to her? Go ahead and say.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, go ahead.
We have a special. I have a special blog post up. It's on my website, carrieturansky.com, under the blog page. And there are 6 English historical authors that got together, and we're doing a special giveaway called British Blooms and Books in honor of the Chelsea Flower Show. It's happening in London now. So 6 of us that write English historical have all posted a special blog, and if you visit each of those 6 blogs and leave a comment, then you might win all 6 books and then a special little British treat. So if you just visit my website and my blog, you'll find my latest blog post there that'll tell you all about British blooms and books.
Yay! That's fun. And it's a way to get yourself connected with this. If this is your genre and it's where you're going to write from, or it's where you're going to read from in the future, then that's also a way to connect with several authors who are writing your same genre. So that would be a big, big benefit. So, and I highly recommend what she just told you was also a way to see 6 current writers' websites. So those of you who are working on your platform or who are dreaming about your platform in the future, your website stuff, take a peek and start to get a sense of what you want to be when you are doing platform and having your own website and your own design, because it's the future we're dreaming of, whether it's self-published or independent published or with a traditional publishing house. It doesn't matter. So I did see a bunch of thank yous trickle up, but you guys, we want to give her an applause. Cheryl was on here and she was thanking you too again for what you were doing. Go ahead. So she's going to watch the replay, guys. So what you put in there now is what she's going to know is from you as thank yous. And I love what she says about you make a mistake, you just get up and go back at it again. I mean, just that bright and easy, simple thing is not always simple to do, but I just like hearing her say it. It helps me know that, you know, you make a mistake, you embarrass yourself, you get a no, you get a rejection, you get some hard feedback, you just get back up and you do it again and you keep trying. So you got lots of thank yous coming up. Brandy says, thank you so much, Carrie, so much for the encouragement. We've got hand claps, we got hearts going on. They're all being very gracious. And so I really appreciated a lot of the things that you had to say. New perspective. They started reading Daughter of HH, which is Highland Hall. There we go. Daughters of Highland Hall. They're all, you know, they're supporting you, so that's exciting. And I don't know if you guys caught the part where her original imagination took off when she was without TV in Kenya. That would be Kenya, Africa. So it's funny to me, you should go and be a missionary and do all of that and end up with this calling to write books out of it, which is such a neat thing too, the way the Lord would work. So thank you again, Carrie. We're going to look for you inside the group, and we appreciate what you're doing. And we're going to say goodbye. So have a good day, and thank you. And look at all those hearts. I can't wait for you to see the multicolor heart parade that's going on the side. It so makes me feel good. So have a good day, and I'm going to see you at the American Christian Fiction Writers Conference in person. And those of you who are going to follow me then, you guys will get to see, I'm going to find her and we're going to do an updated Periscope, even if it's just a short one that says hello. So you guys will get to see us together in Nashville at the end of the summer, which will be fun. So we will do our next Right Things later today or tomorrow, so be thinking about that. I'm not going to incorporate those into the author interviews anymore because I want these author interviews to be about our author. So, but be thinking, because each piece matters. Go one step at a time towards your dream, and it stacks up. It really does. So have a good day, Carrie. I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll say goodbye to you guys too on Periscope. We'll see you later. Bye.